Each day at Wesley Meadows is a new opportunity to serve older adults and reimagine retirement living. It is the heart of their mission that inspires their team to provide the kind of fun atmosphere and care residents would want for themselves. Experience the warm spirit and faith-based difference of Wesley Meadows. Call 662-429-2070 and schedule your visit today. Hello and welcome to The Real Hernando, presented to you by Wesley Meadows Retirement Community and SRP Studios. The Real Hernando is a podcast created to highlight the Hernando, Mississippi community by sharing the stories of its business owners and community leaders. We hope these stories help strengthen the fabric of the city we love so near and dear, Hernando, Mississippi. Please follow us at therealhernando.com for all channels and social media platforms. I am your host, Derek. Today's guest is Malcolm Reed from How to BBQ Right at Malcolm's Shop. How to BBQ Right is the online resource for serious barbecue from the pitmaster himself, Mr. Malcolm Reed. For more information, go to howtobarbecueright.com. Malcolm, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for the invite, Derek. Man, I've been following your podcast since you started it up last year, and I'm just, appreciate the invite to come on and talk about Hernando. What it's like to have a business here.
That's so exciting to hear. You definitely, obviously, you're on my radar, and I was like, oh man, someday I can get Malcolm on here, and another fellow podcaster. But to hear that you're familiar and you've been following a little bit, man, that means a lot to me. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Well, me and my wife love Hernando. I guess we moved here. This will be 7 years for us.
Okay.
I grew up in South Haven, so I'm familiar with DeSoto County, but, we started a family. We had a business. We were looking to move out, of the city, South Haven, big city. So we found Hernando. I mean, we love it down here. We've got a lot of friends. Community's great. It's a great place to have a business and a great place to raise a family.
Oh, yeah, I love it here too. Hence why I started a podcast, right? Called The Real Hernando. What was it like 7 years ago? Was it?
It was much the same. I mean, Hernando's it has an influx of people coming in. They're building houses left and right, but the community aspect of it, with the square and everything that goes on with the stuff they do, it's been about the same, since we've been here. It's been great, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, when you got to complain about Commerce Street traffic, that's our biggest complaint.
I've become friends with Mayor Chip Johnson, and I was teasing him. I was like, that light as you're coming out of the square that stays red for 5 minutes. He's like, man, that's the state. I can't touch that light.
Yeah. I learned that coming from down in Hernando, because I've come from traffic. You go up and down Goodman Road, what traffic is.
It's brutal. Yeah.
This traffic is nothing, but there's two lights. It's like that one and the one over coming off the interstate that the city can't do. Those are state lights. Right. I didn't know such a thing.
Yeah, and he explained that to me too. And I come to find out, Hernando only owns like 3 lights.
Yeah.
But all these lights, you think otherwise. Then it's also nice that they did get the railroad track fixed.
Yeah.
That massive bump that took a few of my wheels.
Oh, yeah.
And my little
you
Corolla.
Learn which side you have to go or how to dodge it.
So my little Corolla did not like that. I mean, I launched off it too many times. But so from South Haven, did you play sports, or what were you into growing up?
Growing up, of course, we played sports and everything. It was a big, Little League baseball, football, all the fun stuff that kids do. That was it. But I didn't find my passion in barbecue, I guess, until college. South Haven always had a barbecue. It was South Haven Spring Fest. I don't know if you may have never heard of it, but it's kind of like the Water Tower Festival here in Hernando, but a much larger scale.
Okay.
And they've been having that since I was a kid. I guess it started in the early 80s. I don't know. It's been a long time. But it was a barbecue contest, and me and my buddies got interested in cooking in it, and it was kind of, a place to go and have a good time, party, cook some barbecue. And I just kind of stuck with it over the years, and it became a passion of mine, learning how to smoke meat and to compete in contests, and then ended up starting a business and all that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you just found that it was your knack.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to jump around too much, but your TikToks are great. You managed to teach me a lot about whatever dish you're making in under 60 seconds. Yeah. It's really. I mean, that takes a talent to create content. This new world of micro content where it's going to be fast and snappy. And you're teaching us how to make a dish or how to cook a rack or all these different things.
Yeah,
it's great.
It took years of practice doing that. When we first started out, man, it was just turn the camera on, a lot like this podcast setting, and see where it goes. Because I wasn't trained in front of a camera, not a teacher by any means, But when I started out, doing recipes and trying to help people learn to cook, I just did it like you're my buddy sitting here with me. How would I talk to you?
Yeah.
And I think that translates. So when we take it over to short form like TikTok or if the YouTube channel a little bit longer form, I still go about the same approach. And I just try to get a message across in terms that everybody can understand because that's the only way I know how to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Is How to BBQ Right the first business? Did it start as that, or was it something different?
It was. The funny thing was, so my wife, she's the one that kind of got the business side going because she heard me talking to my buddies all the time. We talked about barbecue. Well, it was before camera phones and text messaging and all that.
Yeah.
We would just be on the phone, and it was always the talk was going to barbecue. What are you doing on these ribs? Or how long did you cook them? Or, what about the whole hog? And we were just talking.
Yeah.
And she said, you need to start a website up and a newsletter talking about, how doing these things y'all are talking about. And I said, what are we going to call it? And she said, I don't know. We'll come up with a name. And I said, well, how about How to BBQ Right? Because you don't want to barbecue wrong. And so she said, well, we'll go with that. It ain't a great name. Yeah. But it turns out that Google and YouTube loved it because this was before YouTube. All I had was a newsletter. And it was like me writing up a
so what
recipe.
Year was this?
This was probably 2007-ish.
Yeah. Okay.
It's been a while. This is before YouTube really got going.
Right. And the cell phone, the smartphone was coming around.
I don't even know if they had Generation 1 iPhone yet.
Yeah.
I still remember having that old flip phone. That's what we started with.
I had a flip phone too. It had Tetris on it.
Yeah, there you go. Snake, I think it was one. But that was it, man. And so I started with this newsletter. She was doing some marketing, and they were writing newsletters for companies, and it was a way to kind of create this mail list. We weren't selling products. We weren't doing anything except giving out free information. And I said, who's going to read this? Yeah. My buddies maybe, but I doubt it because nobody was really checking their email unless you were going to the office or something like that. Yeah. And then it kind of exploded. So people started reading the newsletter. We built the website, and all we did on the website was share pictures. It was like we had a MySpace. This was before Facebook. We had a MySpace, so we were putting pictures on there. So my wife said, well, we'll start up, howtobarbqright.com. We'll put the newsletter on there, and then we'll share some of the pictures we're doing out at contest. And there's only so many things you cook at a contest because we're just doing brisket, chicken, ribs, whole hog, and you run out of ideas, so I got to start coming up with other recipes. And so that's what I started doing. I started doing recipes on things that I wanted to cook. And as we started sharing them, we had a company that wanted to send us a camera and record some of it. And
because they heard of you?
Yeah, because they saw the newsletter and they saw the website. And so we recorded a ton of stuff at Memphis in May one year, which is like the world championship of barbecue cooking. And then when we got through with all that footage, the files were so large, we couldn't email them to them. Like Yahoo couldn't handle it. And they was like, how are we going to get, we could email the cards to, or mail the cards to them, FedEx or UPS, but we can't really do them digitally. And my wife was messing with this new thing called YouTube for one of her other jobs. And she says, well, we can put videos on YouTube and then allow them to grab the link and do what they want with it. So we created our channel. This was 2010.
Wow.
And that's what got us started with the YouTube channel. And then since we had this little flip camera, it was like, well, let's just record some other stuff.
Not even knowing what YouTube would become.
Not even knowing.
That's the one channel. It's the channel I consume the most.
Oh, I think most people.
Netflix is second.
Yeah, and that's for most people. I mean, now, if you want to find out how to, other than just entertainment, if you want to find out how to do something, you'll YouTube it. It's like, I looked up how to fix my garbage disposal, and it's right on YouTube. So
when I first started this agency, my first client asked me if I could get their podcast on iTunes. And over the phone, I said yes, but my head was going side to side. I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So Google and YouTube, and it's just a huge resource. Plus, obviously, I like podcasts, and I like the visual. I like watching.
Yeah.
Hence why I really wanted to make this have a video aspect to it. And so that's how I consume a lot of my content and entertainment. It's just through YouTube, man. It's great. So what were you doing? I should have asked this on the front end. because I want to get more into this barbecue story of
Yeah.
your business. But what were you doing before? What was your career?
So I was doing commercial construction. I was an architect that, we worked for a firm out in Memphis. And this was, I guess, 2008. I got laid off because I was one of the younger guys there at the time, or just newly started at the company. Construction kind of took a dive after the recession hit in '08. So it backed things up. So I got laid off that job. And then I got another job with another firm downtown building like the exterior glass walls on buildings. I worked there for a while, designing some of that stuff, and their business slowed down. And they had to do layoffs again. Once again, I got laid off, and at that time I was already dabbling. We were doing the barbecue stuff totally on the side. My wife had her job, I had my job, and then I got laid off. We had just started selling our rub. I'd come up with one rub, and I was mixing it up in my kitchen, which I don't recommend anybody do. It's totally illegal. And I was selling it online to my buddies or anybody that wanted to buy it. I bought me a bottler. I was doing this stuff, just trying to make some extra dollars to go to a barbecue contest. And then I got a decent severance package on that second layoff, and I had started working with the co-packer to get it manufactured straight legit. Mm-hmm. And so I had to put this big order in. It was like for 500 pounds. I said, there's no way I'm going to sell 500 pounds of this stuff. But I took my money I got. We had enough money to pay bills for like 6 months. I said, okay, I'm going to jump into the barbecue. Yeah. We're going to try to sell this rub.
That's a lot of rub, man.
Yeah, it was. It was a garage full. We were working out of our home. Straight out of our house in South Haven. Yeah. And so we started, and I was like, if we don't make it 6 months, I'll go deliver pizzas. I'll go back, find me another architect job, do something. Hopefully the economy will turn back around. Well, I guess you could say I kind of retired back in, I guess that was 2010. Uh-huh. I hadn't went back to work since. So we've been on our own. Now my wife, we both do it full time, and we have, I think, 13 full-time employees work for us. So.
Wow, that's great. A testament to just taking a chance.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's been a fun journey. It's been a fun journey. We've learned a lot because, you don't think about it. Owning your own small business, it's tough. Yeah. There's a lot of lean times, Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know. It's like it's like a shark teeth. It's like shark
constantly,
teeth,
constantly.
I might be in a period myself where I'm kind of hitting the gums a little bit.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Well, you throw COVID in, you throw recessions in, stuff that you don't plan for, and that's it can take you all the way down. But you just got to know that you can pull back up too. So
oddly, 2020 was a great year for me. It was a catalyst year that really launched me because people had time and money.
Yeah.
So clients were just flying in. It was 2021 when they had to go back to work that I started seeing some things fall, But so that's outstanding, man. So you're in your garage pumping out that 500 pounds of rub.
It's one bottle at a time.
So when does it bridge from that to actually having a brick and mortar? And where was your first business?
So we stayed working from our home until we moved to Hernando. So probably this will be 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. We moved to Hernando. We worked out of our house here for about a year. We got an employee. Finally, had so much business that we just couldn't do it all. Yeah. We were still, doing our shipping, doing everything ourselves. But so we have, besides just like selling barbecue rub, it's kind of like we have a retail side, which is the howtobarbecueright.com. That's where you or anybody else that wants to cook something can go buy it. But we also have a wholesale side of our business where we sell to other businesses that put it on their shelf. And so we started, and when I first go, and I wanted to sell my stuff directly to people, but I knew that I had to, if it was going to ever take off, that I had to spread it around the country. There had to be other stores selling it too, because not everybody's going to see what I'm doing.
You needed to go broad.
I needed to go broad. Mm-hmm. So I just started, kind of looking up barbecue stores online, finding anybody that was selling any kind of product similar to mine, and sending them an email, send them a free bottle, and then trying to build this wholesale side. Mm. Well, managing both got too hard, or it just got so much business that there wasn't enough time of the day that we couldn't do it, so I had to hire somebody.
It's a good problem to
have.
And
so we were doing that out of our house, and then, it got to be to where you don't want somebody coming to your house every day. Right. You can't just walk around in shorts or whatever every day. So we decided we needed an office space. So we found an old house that had been converted into a commercial business across town on Mackinville. And I think it was like At one point, it was like a hair salon. Now I think it's like an alterations type shop. But we had it for our offices, just to do our wholesale out of our retail. It wasn't like a brick and mortar store. You couldn't come in and buy retail there.
It was just a place to work.
Yeah, it was just a place to work, just offices basically. Yeah. So we stayed there for about a year. We hired another employee because we needed some more help. We kind of grew. We did our podcast there. When we first started our podcast, it was in a closet in the house, my wife's sewing closet. And then so we actually, when we got that building, we was like, well, great. We'll be able to have a really podcast studio there.
Yeah. I bet the closet sounded good, though.
It did. Now, that's the funny thing about a podcast.
Yeah.
When you're recording, the smaller the space, the better it does sound.
I mean, I'm still struggling with sound here in Studio A. Yeah. When I listen back, there's still room echo. And I don't want to bury people in the detail. You and I could easily talk shop, man, and get lost in that. So I don't want to, bore people with that. But so I didn't mean to cut you off there. So you guys are still in that place, and you start podcasting in there. And after about a year, you decide to expand?
Well, we were renting that place, and then I found a building across town where we are now on Whitfield that was for sale. And we went and looked at it, and it was like the perfect building. It had some warehouse space in the back where we could, store some of our products. It had plenty of offices. It had like a classroom. It had an office that was perfect for a podcast studio. And then it had some room up front that if we ever decided to open up a retail shop, it would be great for it. And that wasn't like hot on my mind, having a retail shop. But as we got into that building and we realized that, people could find us. If people was traveling in from out of town, they could come there. People that were local that just wanted to pick up a bottle, some seasonings or some gifts or whatever. It worked out. So I just kind of let my wife have the reins of how to kind of set that up. Because if it had been me, I would have just had some shelves with some crap thrown on it. But she did a really good job. Yeah. But she kind of curated her mom's one of these people that goes to all the little antique shops or estate sales, and they find cool eclectic stuff. Well, that's what, we use to kind of decorate our shop. And it's not big. I think we may be 1,000 square foot at that. I don't even know if it's that big. It's not, the retail space is kind of small, but it has some cool stuff in it. And it has some of our apparel, seasonings, but I sell my buddy stuff in there. I've got some grills that we sell. So it's kind of a store for the cooking man or woman is what I say.
Yeah.
So,
and what's the address?
496 Whitfield Drive. So it's just over off old, I guess it's Old Memphis Street is what they call it, or something like that. Back in the day,
yeah, you're going down 51, and it's a left off of 50.
It's like Old Highway 51
when you're heading north.
That's right. As soon as you go underneath the railroad bridge, you kind of hang a left behind the nursery right there, and it's down past the Connection Gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gym. That's right. There's a gym out there. Yeah. So you purchased this building.
We purchased this building.
That's a big step.
So, and the way we did it, the rent was about the same. So I ended up lucking into a building that I could find that I was paying about the same month and actually own.
That's huge for a business.
Oh, it was. It was huge. Really, really big. My accountant said that was one of the smartest things we could have done.
I mean, your value just skyrockets.
That's right.
That's great. So that's probably 2017, 18?
Right. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. We've been there 3 or 4 years, I guess. So right before pandemic.
Yeah.
Right before.
Just in time.
Yeah, just in time.
Just in time, man. So let's talk about the podcast a little bit.
Sure.
I try not to geek out here. Off mic, we could talk a long time. But when you started your podcast, was it like it is now, more just talking about barbecuing and teaching that way?
It's the way it's always been. I look at it, it's kind of mine and Rochelle's therapy.
Is that co-host? Is that your wife?
Yeah, that's my wife. Okay, that's cool. My wife, Shell. We have Tyler, who is kind of our social director that runs the board for us. He does all that technical stuff now.
Man, that must be
At first,
nice.
It was us. It was like me watching a YouTube video. What equipment do I need to basic get started? And me figuring it out. And I was like, man, I am not good at it. I mean, I made it work. You can go back and watch the first few seasons. They're not near as good as they are now.
Yeah, you got several hundred episodes, right?
Oh, yeah. This is, I want to say season 5 or 6. Wow. And we started out the first season. My wife didn't want to do video. She just wanted to do audio. And we did one season audio. Then I begged her. I was like, let's do video too. So, because video is our thing.
And now, it's imperative.
Oh, yeah.
You got to do both.
I think so.
I follow a lot of comedian podcasts, and they have these amazing sets. And then obviously monetization now is so big. They can afford making like real TV sets with really good lighting. That's the way to do it. And I've watched enough. It seems like the dynamic with you and your wife is she's kind of pitching you, right? Giving you a question or a scenario, and then you just go off, right?
That's kind of that way. I don't have to do any prep. She doesn't tell me beforehand what we're going to talk about often.
Yeah.
It's like we'll have some kind of basic outline where we know, okay, it's going to be questions here. It's going to be talk about the recipe here. But she never tells me indirectly what the questions or any of that's going to be. That way it feels like you're just hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And that was our whole thing. Like I'm not the best I'm better at being interviewed than I am interviewing somebody.
Okay.
Because everything I do is just like we're hanging out. So it just comes naturally for me to be comfortable talking to a mic or looking at a camera if I treat it like we're just sitting here hanging out. And
I mean, you can see how my prep is.
Yeah.
And I try to keep it organic too, fall into a conversation and see where it goes, especially the entrepreneurial small business story. I can talk for hours, on that. So let's talk about your channel. Now, I noticed you have a channel for your podcast, but then you have another channel.
Right.
Which is over 1.5 million subscribers.
So that was the original.
So that's the original, and then that's where you're putting more of like the tutorial type videos and
recipes, things like that. Yeah. So we started out with that How to BBQ Right on the YouTube channel, and that's where we started with all the recipes or anything we were doing. And as we grown, we added a podcast. At first, I wanted to put the podcast on that channel too, but the difference was podcasts are hour unedited, just a straight block hour of footage. Well, we also had our video recipes have gotten down to, between 7 to 12, 13 minutes. So they're not near as long as a podcast. Well, once you get up to a certain following on YouTube, they kind of assign you a YouTube channel manager. And that was one of the first things our channel manager told us to do is you need to separate your podcast from your recipe channel.
Interesting.
Because they say the algorithm, like you've got long form, like really long form podcasts, and you've got the short form where you want to direct the eyes to that, but you're pulling away from it in the search by having all the podcast stuff. And so it kind of split it. He was like, you're gonna see much more gains on both of them if you'll separate them. And so that's when we separated them. And then when shorts come along, we made a shorts channel too, but since they've recommended that you put your shorts back on your main channel.
You created a whole channel just for your shorts.
Just for shorts at first because they weren't monetized. It was just something because they were pushing short form content to catch up, I guess, with TikTok.
Absolutely. 100%.
And so, but now they've monetized it and they're wanting you to put your shorts more on your long form channel. So we're starting to do that now too.
My mom is the YouTuber. She's the one that teaches me all this stuff. I can't keep up with that stuff.
It changes so much, man. It's so far above my head, really. That aspect of it. I got, hey, this is how you upload a video. But the whole back end stuff, trying to work the algorithm, trying to make sure, and YouTube's like that from a business standpoint. It's not just about putting something that the consumer wants to see. You've got to also put it on there the way YouTube wants to feed it to the consumer. So you're trying to appease two targets, and that's what makes it challenging to be successful at it.
But I would gather when you have that many subscribers and views on your videos, that's a nice chunk of revenue.
Oh yeah, it came in. It does. That you
didn't have before.
I didn't know it slowly built over time. So it took us.
Yeah. When did it start really popping?
So we started in 2010. That was when our first video launched. And it took me 10 years to get to 1 million followers, 10 years. Yeah. Now, we noticed at about, I guess, 5 years in is when we started. You hit like that 100,000. It took us 5 years to probably get to 100,000 subs. And then once you get to 100,000, it's like the next year's 2, the next year's 4, the next year's 750. And then it just grows exponentially once you start getting so many eyes on it.
Yeah.
The hardest part is that initial growth. Once you can break through there and get to 100, you're gold because it's going to just keep growing.
My personal channel has 5,700, so I got a ways to go.
But hey, mine it took me forever. I remember getting the first 100, then 1,000. I was like, wow,
I think
1,000 people are watching this.
I think the real Hernando is at 100.
Yeah,
it's tough. Yeah, and long format's a little trickier. So not everyone wants to engage.
That's
with
right.
That.
Well, there's so much now. Like when I got in, it was just the right time, right place.
So were they monetizing back in 2010, 2011?
No, not at first. At first, the monetizing was, You had to have so many. I mean, it was similar to what it is now, but it seemed like it took a while. And then when you did monetize, there wasn't that much money to be made.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't as much advertising on it. And all that monetizing is advertising dollars. So when you see these ads roll before video or mid-roll or pop up, that's how creators are getting paid on
right.
it.
And now there's so many channels and creators getting millions and millions and millions of views. Yeah. Advertisers are all over that.
They are. And we don't make a lot of money on YouTube, but it's not bad. It's enough to keep going.
It's it's part of your portfolio.
That's right.
So this is probably a stupid question, but do you go to Memphis in May? You guys,
every year. Yeah.
So what's that like? Well, first, when did you do your first one?
2006 was the first time we did Memphis in May.
Oh, so back when you still had your job.
Yeah, this was still working. We were amateur barbecuers. That's what they called us back then. That's what you are till you cook Memphis in May. And then they had what's called the patio porker division or the backyard division. And that was the first one we did in 2006. And we won first place.
Nice.
First time we entered it. And there's been teams cooking it forever.
You're like, man, this is easy.
Yeah, well, that's what we thought. But after you do that, it turns out you got to turn pro. So we had to start cooking in the pro side. We couldn't cook in the backyard side anymore.
Just because you won?
Yeah, because we won that contest. It makes you a pro. And so we said, well, we didn't have a lot of equipment or anything. We just had a grill that we used. But we took that grill, loaded it up in the back of my pickup truck, and me and my brother would go to all the contests around that we could and cook ribs against these pro teams. And we got our teeth kicked in. But it was doing all that cooking that got us better. And that's what got us to competing. And we cooked Memphis in May the next year. I think we finished like 11th or 12th in the rib category. We were like, man, we think we got it figured out. And then it's just been a search, forever since. You're chasing it. You're hooked.
The snake bit you in that first.
That's it.
That's so cruel.
I know. It really is.
It's similar to the music business, man. You have that pivotal moment, and you're like, oh, man, this is good. I'm making money, and I'm on tour and everything. And then it's like 10 years later, it's like, man, that's never happened again. I'm still playing bars. It's
it's like, but you got bit.
It's never ending. So where do you see things going now? Do you have any plans?
Well, now, so I don't get to do as much competition barbecue as I used to, but what we're doing now with the competition side is we're trying to help other teams come up. And so we're we have like an ambassador program where we have people submit applications to us. If they're out cooking, we try to see how where they're at in their journey of cooking barbecue. If there's a way we can help them, we do that by sponsoring them. Sometimes it's sauces and seasoning. Sometimes it's monetary. Sometimes it's equipment. But we try to help out other people getting going, because we know how hard it was when we got going.
And you're building an audience for your channel.
That's right.
TikTok and everything.
And so we're concentrating on that. Of course, we realize that, retail sales is part of what we do, but the biggest generator is the social media, the content we're putting out. So we really concentrate heavily on putting out unique, high quality, getting better with our videos, getting better with our podcast.
Great.
All that, just working on that voice, that, those aspects of the business is where we really try to focus now. So we're kind of a media company as much as we are a company that sells barbecue rubs and seasons.
How big is your TikTok account now?
It's 1.5 million too.
And TikTok is monetized now. They have their own little monetization thing.
But it's real weak. TikTok doesn't pay their creators much at all.
Okay.
It's not even a fraction of what YouTube does.
Really?
And so I think that's why YouTube's trying to double down on their shorts, because they know they can get the ad dollar spent, and the creators are going to jump over there.
Absolutely. They fell behind a little bit. And, of course, Instagram, the Reels became the thing to keep up, and the Facebook, Reels. Yeah, but that's where I find you. If I'm flipping through the Facebook Reels, that's where I'll see your videos, and I'll always watch. Well, there was one where you made this killer dip.
It's dip time with Super Bowl coming up, man.
And then you ended it with just a giant scoop and a chip, and you're like, yeah.
But we learned. You have to be on all the platforms. I mean, and that's the one thing with what we do, and same thing for doing podcasts and stuff. There's always going to be something else that's the new thing, and so you have to be adaptable. You have to be ready to jump over, and as long as you're making good content and you're doing things the right way, the views and the audience will come. They'll find you. Yeah, that's what we've learned.
Yeah, we're trying our best with this channel, you know, and producing clips as a way to promote.
That's right.
And I have an amazing assistant. Her name's Lexi, and she's the one that keeps up with everything. Like you know.
Yeah, you gotta have.
I can't.
It's so hard for one person to try to do it all. You can't.
Never mind the writing and the scheduling and the management of it, but keeping up with the algorithms and what's new and what's like every platform, your video has to be a different dimension. All these things. Yeah. And then now captioning, that's the big thing now is what kind of captioning do you have? It's like, thanks, Lexi.
We just launched How to BBQ Right in Espanol. We're targeting the whole, the Spanish-speaking,
cool.
people of the world.
So
it's basically you pay you have your videos dubbed over in Spanish and you launch it as a separate channel. So once we see how that goes, we'll pick another language. And
will you adjust some of the food that will you add like a Tex-Mex vibe?
That's so
to cater to that audience.
Yes and no. I think we'll see. Right now the goal is just to get a catalog built. So we'll use content that we've already created. But as we go along and we see that it's trending. People are really liking the channel. We might make recipe specific stuff for those for that audience. So
that's interesting. So you're digging through the archive and feeding it that way.
So we have a lot of data where sales go. There's a big part of the United States that speaks Spanish. California, Florida. There's a lot. The Southwest.
It's the second
language. Yeah.
Second language. Yeah.
And so not only are we targeting those viewers, but also. In Mexico, South America, Latin America, those places too, where YouTube's huge.
You're going global, and YouTube has that kind of reach, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Even a small channel like The Real Hernando, I'll look at the analytics, and there's someone in Australia viewed. Yeah, that's so cool. Have you ever given thought to actually opening up a restaurant?
I get asked that all the time. And I grew up. I worked in restaurants. Going to school and put myself through college. That's what I did. I know how hard it is, and the margins are low. The hours are long. You're married to that restaurant. You're not doing 40 hours a week. You're doing 120 hours a week. And so if I ever make enough money to where I don't need money and I can just do the restaurant for fun, a place, for my friends or to share barbecue with people, yes. Yeah. But if I have to make a living on it, I don't know if I could ever do it.
Do you know Heather Reese from Mississippi Eats?
Yeah.
So I interviewed her and her husband, Joey. And when she had Ladybug,
right,
where now Coffee Central is, that was her life.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That's her story. I mean, she lived there. And everyone made money before her.
That's the way it goes.
That's just how it goes, Yep. So when that finally ended, she managed to sell that place during COVID.
I know. And it's doing great. It's Coffee Central. It's doing great.
But
her building now, the Mississippi Eats, is doing great.
It's great.
Me and my wife frequent it all the time. We love her. She's got the best pimento cheese going.
Oh, and the chicken salad.
Chicken salad, yes.
And mix those together, man. But she made it more simple, and she's only doing a 4-day work week. So she's absolutely going at her way. She designed it to have life-work balance, because of what she experienced. And even before Ladybug, when she was a chef at different places, it's full commitment.
Oh, it is. I have friends that own restaurants. I know how hard they work, and it is tough. It's a tough business. Barbecue especially, because you don't have any room to be mediocre. You have to be good to be succful at it,
And I've had bad barbecue before.
Oh, yeah.
It's not good.
It's not good. No, it's not.
Yeah, when you're tugging the meat off a rib, man.
Or you taste smoke for 3 days after you eat it.
Man.
That's the worst.
That indigestion you
get. Yes.
Well, man, are we missing anything? Is there anything that you would like to talk about your business that we haven't touched on that may be new or something that you would like to highlight?
Man, I really can't think of anything. When we, ours is kind of unique because we have so many different sides of it with our retail, with our physical store in Hernando, with the wholesale side, with the social media creation side.
You got a lot going
on, and the
on.
podcast. I mean, we have started now. I've started another. I don't know if you call it a business yet because it hasn't made $1. But me and my buddies hunt when we're not barbecuing, so we started up. The Buck Junkies, which is the podcast that we do about deer hunting.
The Buck Junkies?
Buck Junkies. Yeah. So we meet, once a week we sit down, we record a podcast about that. But we've been capturing a lot of content down on our hunting land in Tate County, Senatobia, and we go down and have a good time. So that's something that it's kind of like a hobby type project. Mm-hmm. We're setting it up to where, we've got some apparel, some things like that. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's what I do, when I'm not barbecuing. I like to go deer hunting and fish. So.
Well, clearly you know how to grow platforms, and that's just the way it is in entrepreneurship now.
Yeah.
You need to dabble in all those things.
Oh, I think so.
And put yourself out there as best you can because it's noisy out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing I can tell people is don't be scared to jump in and start because if I can do it, anybody could do it.
Yeah.
You just have to be dedicated. Mm-hmm. You have to put in the hours. You've got to, you don't have to know how to do it when you start, but you can just have to adapt and overcome and just don't give up because how easy is it to start something and just, not get any views on it and then just let it fizzle away? I mean, I could have done that easily, but you just have to have that drive to keep going. I think that's the most, and that applies to everything in life.
It can be discouraging for sure. And my story is I never wanted to be on camera, shy guy, didn't like hearing my voice until I forced myself to start a podcast in 2020. I was like, dude, you own a podcast production agency and you don't have a podcast. Like, we need to step it up.
That's right.
And then I got more and more used to it, and all those skills and how I was able to run my team to do that podcast led into the Real Hernando. And then now I have no problem sitting across from someone, giving an interview, being on a mic, being in front of a camera. But it takes practice. You got to go. So, like you said, if anyone's listening that's always wanted to have a little channel, I always say, pull your phone up, put it on a stand, hit record, and talk into it.
It's easy as that. It's easy as that. Really, it is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think people get their media so many different ways now. It used to be, if you weren't on TV or the radio, you weren't going to be heard. Mm-hmm. Now with podcasts, with YouTube videos, with TikToks, everybody's got a camera and everybody's got a voice. So I guess it's kind of a good and a bad because there's a lot of stuff you got to sort through.
Well, it's noisy,
but
there's so much out there.
I guarantee you, there's somebody interested in what you have to say, though. That's the way. That's the way the world is. I mean, you might not know it because it seems so small, but really, there's people out there that are interested in what you're doing.
Oh, podcasting is consumed like crazy.
Yeah.
It's on demand. You can pause, go back to it. It's companion. You're walking your dog with your earbuds in at the gym. The other thing I like is that you can't do with radio. Well, now you can because every radio station has a website or whatever. But traditionally, you had to turn it on to catch anything.
Yeah.
Well, now, Malcolm, check out my new episode. Throw a link your way. Bam.
That's it. And it's right there.
It's right there.
Yep.
So the sharing aspect is massive too.
And I find myself all the time just in the car. The radio's not even on. It just goes to a podcast. And while we're driving or going somewhere, we're listening to a podcast.
Yep, and story-based and fictional-based and educational-based. And
I'm into the true crime stuff. My wife's got me hooked on it. It's like everything was all these different true crime
huge.
Posts.
Those channels are massive. Well, Malcolm, this has been a pleasure. Really cool to meet you, finally. I may have been a little intimidated last year to get you in here, but now that I had a studio, I was like, come on in.
Well, Derek, man, I love what you're doing, man. Keep it up. This is great for Hernando. It's great for our community. I know people are going to watch it and love, following you and hearing, what it's like from small business side of things, from different businesses. I mean, I think it's so cool. So congratulations on your success at it, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. It just worked out where I wanted to do a podcast for the community, and it just so happens that's my profession. So I was able to tie the two in together, and it's been an awesome journey. And the salesy 101 is people buy people, and I know that sounds sterile and everything. That's not what this is about, but it is what this is about. Like, if one person didn't really know you and they watch this and they're like, oh wow, Malcolm's a pretty cool guy, and I've heard of BBQ Right. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go to the store and let's go buy something. Let's check it out. Then my job is done. I've done what I'm trying to do here, because now they know you, they trust you, and they like you. So all right, let's go patronize the business. So that's kind of my thought
I love
process.
that. I think it's great. I think it's great.
Well, we're not saying bye quite yet, right? As I do now, we're going to talk to the audience, because I'm going to give them 5 ways to help grow this podcast and channel, and it's all based on pretty much sharing, right? So first off, go to therealhernando.com and subscribe to our newsletter / blog. Basically, when we put up a new episode, you'll get an email, and that's all we're asking for. No phone numbers. Nothing. And then while you're in there, click on your favorite episode, grab that URL and share it like you can. If you're watching this and you think your husband is into barbecuing and would love Malcolm's story, then grab that link, send it to him. YouTube. Again, from our website, click on our YouTube icon, subscribe to that channel. That goes a long way. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, whatever platform you choose. Follow, give us a review. And then patronize our socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all are at The Real Hernando. And then that's when you can share like crazy. Throw it in a story, share it to a friend. And, that really goes a long way for any content like this. And first and lastly, and I'd hate to make it lastly, but thank you for watching and listening. This doesn't work without an audience. And then thank you, Malcolm, and guests like yourself that are willing to sit in front of a camera and tell your story. And especially, you're used to it. But there's a lot of interviews I've done that they're like, camera, and oh my God, and they've always just let me ask them questions in front of a camera. Yeah. So that totally doesn't exist without them. So no one wants to just listen to me yap. So thank you for doing this. Again, thank you for watching and listening, and you all have a good day. Thank you.